not to really carry my position on my head.
So they went yes and no, and only one person voted no.
Ooh.
They said, oh, they are going to the social to find out who put that.
Politics is today, it can be over. But the other aspect of it is something that is going to be your career.
To the dinner of Puni, Ben Shakana won Soboton. To the dinner, the Zo, the Yelena won Sobo.
I'm absolutely entirely for making not just Wa campus, but Navrongo campus, Tamale campus, even Nyankwala campus, autonomous universities. The more universities we have in the northern part of Ghana, the better for all of us.
And
welcome to my Northern Achiever with me, Abdul-Jalil Naabeli, a son of Musa Kumo on Sagani TV. I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, my motherland. I pledge myself to the service of Ghana with all my strength and with all my heart. I promise to hold in high esteem our heritage won for us through the blood and toil of our fathers, and I pledge myself in all things to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana. So help me God. If you think this is easy, try doing it alone without reading from any book. Welcome again to another edition of my Northern Achiever with me, Abdul-Jalil Naabeli. And today I have a very, very important guest, and I'm so excited and in high spirit because the guest I have is someone who was asking me questions some 5 years ago, and today I'm here to grind him and ask him questions back. Don't you think it's interesting? So just stick and stay. We are going for a quick commercial break. When we're back, I introduce my guest and we start the show. Don't go away.
I am Sheikh Muhammad Al-Amin Bamba. I want to encourage everybody not only to watch my Northern Achiever, but to find ways of supporting the program so that we get to watch and learn from the life experiences of great men and women of our community. Thank you.
Make a date every Friday at 8:30 p.m. only on Sagani TV.
Alright, thank you so much for staying with us. You are still on my Northern Achiever, and you can get to interact with us on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, all at my Northern Achiever. You can also tweet at me at Jalil Naabeli. Today my guest is none other than my own lecturer, and about 5 years ago or so I was in his lecture room and he was lecturing me. Today I am here to talk about his life and what he thinks about society today and what he has for up and coming young ones. Viewers, today I have in my midst Dr. Damasus Tuurosong, Tupaso as he is popularly known. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for having us, and we are so grateful. But before we begin, Tuurosong, what is the meaning of the name Tuurosong?
Well, that's Dagare. Tuurosong literally translated means be righteous.
Okay.
Tuuro, follow well. So be righteous.
Okay. Wow. But how then did you come by the name Tupaso?
Tupaso is more of a family acronym for something we call Tuuro Song.
Okay.
As a family, we had a family magazine which was titled Tupaso, Tuuro Song. It means follow the path well. Okay. So I adopted this family name, and I've used it since.
And in fact, you have carried well your family name, and we are happy and so grateful for having you on our show today. But who is Tuurosong?
Damasus Tuurosong is a lecturer, a journalist, public relations practitioner, and an advertising executive. Born in the early 1970s, and went through my early education first from Bolga, came back to the Upper West region, Tako Primary School, Okay. And from there proceeded to the senior high school.
Okay.
So, well.
So, does it mean you grew up in Bolga?
No. My first 3 classes I attended at Bolga. From primary 1 up to primary 3, I was in Bolga, then came back.
But where were you born?
I was born in Sombo, a community within the Upper West region here, under the Nadoli-Kaleo district.
So, what were you then doing in Bolga?
My sister settled at Bolga with the husband. Okay. So, she came and plucked me from my mother and just sent me there for a couple of years.
Okay. So, let's do it this way. Which schools did you attend from primary to senior high, O-level, and
yes, like I indicated, it all started in Bolga, Winkongo Primary School, near the famous Big Boss, Bolga Senior High School. Now, from primary 1 up to primary 3, I was there, attended school there. Came back to the Upper West region to Tapo Primary School. Did the rest of the 3 years there up to primary 6. When I took an entrance exam into Xavier Minor Seminary here in Wa, the famous, well-acclaimed Xavier. I came to Xavier, did my O-level education there for 6 years, after which I proceeded to Nandom, another famous Nandom Senior High School, for my A-level education. Yeah.
All right. Then you proceeded to the University of Ghana, that I know.
Then I proceeded to the University of Ghana to do my BA degree there in English and Theatre Arts. After the first degree, I remained faithful to Legon. Did my graduate diploma in Legon. After the graduate diploma, proceeded to do my MA Communication Studies still in Legon, and then remained there a 3rd time to do my MPhil Communication Studies there. Yes, before I started working life. Yes.
So, did you participate in any activity in school? Sports, academia?
Well, I wasn't very active in sports, apart from basketball, which I played a little. I did not take part in any sporting activities.
Okay, so what category of friends did you keep in school particularly?
Basically, the very boring type of friends, if you will. Not the naughty ones, those ones who would normally comply with all school rules and regulations, and who kept to themselves and did all the right things.
How has that helped you to, develop as a human being?
Maybe that rather has made me a half-baked human being, because I believe that one must taste all facets of life, from the good to the bad, from the ugly to the very ugly,
but
in order to become well molded. Well, maybe you can say it succeeded. Of course, that has also assisted me to remain focused on what I wanted to do in life, and that probably has made me to be where I am today.
So what fond memories from childhood would you want to share with us?
Very few fond memories of countryside life, where you get to go and enjoy farm life, come back evening.
So you farmed?
Most definitely. My father was a catechist of the Roman Catholic Church, but of course he was a catechist farmer, because as a catechist you are not paid salary, you have to still go farm to make a living. My mother was a housewife supporting my father in his ministry. So I did a lot of farming in my early years.
Now, going to school, by A-level, one should be able to understand what you really want in life. What was your dream career at A-level?
My dream career for a very long time, in fact, up to even the university, had always been to become a renowned writer. I read the works of people like Chinua Achebe, Willie Soyinka, and I was so inspired that I wanted to one day become one of them. But of course, progressing up the academic ladder, the dream changed a bit, and I went into other things.
But you still have done it, because I know that you've been a columnist before. And as a lecturer, there are so many things, articles and publications that you would have to do. And so I think you are still in that line. But then, what are some of the things you did that are very rare, especially to the younger ones today?
Some of the things I did, which were probably exemplary. You see, I cut my teeth in business, I must say, quite early. When I was in the University of Ghana for my first degree, that was when I wrote my first acclaimed book, which has become, a best read, if you want, for the northern part of Ghana, which was grade 1 English language, book for grade A. Yes, well, grade 1 first, and then later on grade A followed. Grade 1 was meant for junior high schools. This was at a time when I was in my second year in Legon. The university was closed down for 9 months because lecturers went on a strike for higher salaries. And government would not budge, government would not yield to their demands. So they closed down the university for 9 months. In those 9 months, I came home and had virtually nothing doing. So I decided one day, why don't I write an English book for junior high schools? I went ahead and wrote the book, printed the first 2 copies, went out and sold those 2 copies, got a bit of profit on it, and came and I managed to make a few more. Eventually, before schools reopened, I had a number of copies which I tied behind my bicycle and went for.
And I have a driving book that I've written. In fact, the book is one of the things that I really love, because I believe in the book and I believe it can actually educate a lot of people. But I'm doing nothing about it because I feel I don't have money to be able to publish it. I think I'll learn from your experience and maybe try to do something about it.
You absolutely don't need money. You just need a means of negotiating with people to get the book printed for you, possibly even getting a publisher for it. Yeah.
But then, are you married? Let's come to family life.
Yes, I am married with 3 children.
With 3 kids.
Yeah.
How old? What is the age of
The first one is 17 years old. The second is now 11 years old, and the third is 5 years old.
That's great. You've managed the family very well. But who was your role model growing up? Because everyone has somebody they look up to.
Growing up, I had 2 main role models. The first one is one of my lecturers, Professor Audrey Gajepo. Gajepo taught me almost everything in journalism, everything in the area of writing. And she actually inspired me a lot throughout my university education. And I admired her so much because she's someone who is very hard working, manages to combine her family life very well with academic life, and the type of person who inspires you to keep going and to keep succeeding.
Okay.
Apart from her, I also have as one of my models Emmanuel Minlayuri. Emmanuel Minlayuri is the CEO of Oracle Advertising. When I was in Legon doing the masters, I joined Oracle Advertising and he was my employer. And he's also someone who taught me a lot in the area of advertising communications. So the 2 of them have inspired me quite a lot.
You do really have great personalities as your role models. And what was your very first job after school?
Let me say during school, because I was working almost throughout my schooling life. The first one was Business Watch. This was a magazine focused on business issues. So I got employed there as a senior reporter when I was still doing my graduate diploma communication studies. Ran around writing stories for the magazine. Eventually I was elevated to the status of editor of the magazine.
Okay.
So
while still a student.
While still a student, I must say. Yeah. So that was my very first job.
But then, how challenging was this particular job?
It was probably one of the most challenging jobs I ever did.
Wow.
Yes, because you see, the greatest challenge was, as an editor, you did not only have on a weekly basis to look for stories for the magazine, which was quite difficult, I must admit, because our staff strength was very small. But you were also charged with the difficult task of going around to look for advertising and basically to finance, because we didn't have anyone who was behind it, financing it for us. We had to go out, look for the money, do the printing, do all the stories, and still pay staff. And everything rested on me. So moving from office to office, trying to convince people to advertise in your magazine and trying to get journalists to write stories for you.
Schooling.
Well, and at the time I was still schooling as well.
That was really challenging and tough. But how were you able to deal with? How were you able to deal with all these challenges?
Well, I guess when you are tasked with such a job, you just have to go into your reservoir of energy and try to master courage and keep going when things get so bad for you.
So, but subsequently you have been in several other jobs, and today you are a lecturer at the UDS. But before we move on, have you ever been sacked from any job?
I cannot say I've ever been dismissed from any job. I have only resigned from a number of jobs. You know, I had to move. Yes, from one to another. First of all, I had to resign from Oracle Advertising at a point when the going became just too tough for me. From Oracle Advertising, I got a job with Shiraj. I was recruited as one of their investigators posted to Suhum district. I refused to go, but instead opted to join Oracle Advertising. After about 3 years of Oracle Advertising, I resigned again to come join WA Polytechnic, because all the time I had a dream that I wanted to fulfill, and I knew that dream was only possible within the Upper West region. I didn't want to remain in the clutter of Accra where life was much of a hassle. I wanted virgin territory to come and start nursing my dream. So I came back to Upper West region to join WA Polytechnic for 1 year before moving on to...
What were you at WA Polytechnic?
I was a lecturer. I was recruited as a lecturer in communication skills, business communication and related courses. Yes.
Have you had problems with your immediate superior before?
Yes, of course. There cannot be any human situation which will be perfect.
So which one of them do you remember a lot and would want to share with us?
They have not been monumental problems. They have been little frictions that you have with a boss once in a while. Nothing really dramatic or monumental, I must say. Okay. Yes, but there is one particular one I think I can recall at the WA Polytechnic when I was about resigning. You know, when they got wind that I was about to resign, they decided to come at me with all manner of queries and trying to make life a little difficult. So at that point, I just had to walk away.
But let's come to UDS. How did you become a lecturer of UDS?
I think it was a straightforward process. I applied. After waiting for a couple of months, I was invited to an interview, which I attended, and subsequently they recruited me as a lecturer in the Department of African and General Studies.
Yeah, which department I went through at the UDS. One of the best, courses that you can ever dream of. But then during my time, you used to lecture Gen 101, that was English language. There was, is it COM 401? Okay. Business communications, and there was advertising, I can't remember the code. Yeah. And some other few courses, theater for development. Which other courses have you lectured in UDS?
A range of them. Of course, English language, like you mentioned, there has been communication skills.
You do all these, courses?
Yes, no, I don't teach the English language, the communication skills anymore. I moved to higher level courses like business communication, advertising, public relations. I teach development communications. Yeah, these are the courses that I handle.
Still with the undergraduate school?
Yes, I teach at the master's level, but with the undergraduate as well.
Okay, all right. So how challenging has it been as a lecturer?
The work of a lecturer is a thankless tedium. That's the way some people describe it. And why do I call it so? Academic life is something which you cannot have a break, where you do not take leave, where you hardly get the opportunity to rest, particularly with UDS. The reason I cite UDS as an example is that unlike the other universities, we have...
Before we come to continue with how tedious it is, and especially with UDS, we would like to go for a quick commercial. My producers are just signaling me that we need to go for a commercial break. So don't go away. We'll come back shortly after these commercials and continue with the conversation.
What didn't I saw? I saw so many things.
The blackest night has an end, and God's sun has never failed to rise.
Hotel Sebia Katibole Hotel Masarana.
Abidjan. Abidjan.
If you don't go through some particular challenges, you won't be able to guide others.
Today's youth need to be a lot more patient.
If you can't help anyone with your power, don't hate them. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
The Bamba here nai do abia nan so won lep kamona. Anju okwa. O shab bene ndo obihi. Kan so bihma.
Have you, in your own work experience as a district magistrate, encountered people trying to bribe you?
Oh, certainly. I mean, a lot.
So usually, what did you do to kind of, or did you take them?
No, I did not. I certainly did not.
When great people talk, they talk to Abdul-Jalil Naabeli on My Northern Achiever. Make a date every Friday at 8:30 p.m. only on Sagani TV.
Thank you so much for staying with us, and welcome back to My Northern Achiever. My guest today is Dr. Damasus Tuurosong, or Tupaso as he is popularly known, a senior lecturer at the University for Development Studies. And once his student, today I am grinding him, I'm grilling him, and I'm so happy doing this. Thank you so much, Doc, for still staying with us, and welcome back to the program. We were talking about how difficult it has been and how challenging, how tasking it is as a lecturer, and especially with UDS, before we went for the commercial break. So let's take it up from there.
Yes, you see, unlike the other universities where they have semester systems, it means they have 2 streams in a year. UDS has a trimester system. They have 3 streams for the academic year. So you virtually have no break. Okay, apart from the normal lectures that you do, you have student long essays and theses to supervise and to mark, and you are an external examiner for other universities. That's what people don't get much of the time. Other universities will send you scripts and theses for you to mark. You have promotion documents, even for lecturers in other universities, which you have to sit down.
The lecturers should be earning huge sums of money.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not sure we are earning any huge sums of money. Yes, and you take on board research as well, because research is a major part of the work that we do. So it's quite a daunting task for us.
So do you still lecture other campuses apart from the WA campus?
For now, no. For now, yes. At the onset of my employment at UDS, I used to go to Navrongo campus.
Which year did you
I joined UDS in 2004.
Wow,
Yes.
about 14 years ago.
That's right.
And compare and assess the standard of education in the past decade and now. If we are to compare, and what would you say about the past decade and now?
I think that the standards undoubtedly have fallen greatly. I think the standards have fallen greatly. You see,
what has accounted for?
Yes, a number of factors have accounted for it. For instance, explosion in new technologies is one major reason. In the past, people would, even when they want to relax, read in order to relax. People would read in order to entertain themselves, take a storybook, sit somewhere, enjoy it. And as you do that, you unconsciously build language. And language is the cradle of all other courses in education. If language is not good, you cannot be good in any other subject, not even mathematics, you see. So even as they entertain themselves, people learn something. These days, what are the modes of entertainment? It's either social media, mainstream media, or some other technological attractions that take students away.
Rather than reading and
rather than sitting down to take a book and read. And these attractions are so powerful that they tempt many students away and concentrating. The mobile phone technology has come in. Whatever you do to prevent students, particularly in the senior high school, from possessing mobile phones becomes fruitless, because they will find ways of retaining these mobile phones and using them whenever they want.
So, is there anything we can do to help improve or to help bring about high standards of education?
There are a lot of things we can do. It's never going to be easy, but there are a lot of things that we can do. I think that those who plan our learning processes must recognize the fact that we cannot force students to do the traditional reading, book reading that we used to. You can force the donkey, they say, to the riverside, but you can't force them to drink. So we must look for more innovative ways of learning. If students are attracted to social and mainstream medias, why don't we use more of the mainstream and social medias to teach the students as well? Why don't teachers become more technologically savvy so that they can find innovative ways of attracting students to sit in classes and begin to learn? I mean, in this day and age, no one needs to have a library with bookshelves and books stocked in there and force students to go and sit down and read for donkey hours. That belongs to the past. Why can't students access books online and read them? And apart from the traditional reading, we should even find ways of using cinema and other technologies to make students learn. If students must read a literature book, if they must learn a literature book, why read the book when it can be translated into either a film, video with questions and dramatization so that they can enjoy and learn at the same time?
I think we would have to get another time and talk much more about this, because it's rather a broad topic that we can discuss further. But what is your general assessment of UDS thus far?
That's a very tricky question. Very tricky.
These are the questions that make me happy. When it is tricky, I remember how I used to answer tricky questions from you.
Yeah, it's almost like handing someone a poison chalice. If you drink, you are in trouble. If you also throw it away, it's another trouble. My candid assessment of UDS is that I think we have made some strides, but I think we could have done a lot better than we have been able to do. I'm not saying there hasn't been progress. There has been, massive progress, but we could have done a lot better. I think I want to leave it there.
We'll leave it for another day. Okay, so now let's talk about this topic, TTFPP, Third Trimester Field Practical Program, as it is done in UDS. When I was in the university, it was one particular thing that bothered me a lot. I was just like, what are these people about? What is this thing? Our colleagues are at home, enjoying themselves, and we are in some village gathering some, what is it about?
Third Trimester Field Practical Program, if one were to simplify it, it's a system where you give students an opportunity to apply theoretical knowledge to practical realities. You see, Legon is called the hill of knowledge. Hill of knowledge. You go there, sit down, and all you learn are archaic theories about development and other issues. When you finish and you get your degree, toast your champagne, and get to the employment sector, you soon realize that the theories you learned are not useful in any way at all in the world of work, and that you had to now start learning. When I finished Legon, I had a lot more learning to do than I did at Legon. Now, come to UDS. We wanted a situation where this is a university for development studies. And where do we need development most? In the deprived communities, not in the cities. So how can you train someone in development by making the person sit on top of a hill of knowledge and not descend to the ordinary people who need the development? So you take students who are learning development to deprived communities, let them live with the people, let them experience the life of the people, let them do a study of what the people's development challenges are, and by doing so they can propose ways. And you see, people argue that, oh, I am learning medicine. What has medicine got to do with? Medicine should be learned in laboratories, doing experiments, cutting open corpses, and that kind of thing. Where do the diseases emanate from? Where do many of those ailments that people suffer emanate from? It's from the communities. It's from people's environment. So the UDS medical student goes to a community, studies the people's environment, nowhere before someone comes with diarrhea. The UDS doctor already knows the cause of that diarrhea because he has experienced the person's environment and he knows where it is coming from. Go to the people's farms. Go and learn what is happening on their farms. If someone is doing agric in Legon and doesn't live in the community and go to the farms and farm with the people, that person is deficient in the learning process compared to a faculty of agric student from UDS who has been in the community, gone to visited their farms, tended their crops, and eaten their foods. Look at a student of nutrition in UDS who has been in the community, experienced why children have kwashiorkor or some other ailments, and definitely will know what types of diets to recommend for people like that to eat. So the TTFPP has actually been a very useful means of practicalizing knowledge for UDS students.
How proud I am to Charlie. If you are from UDS, you must be thanking your God for passing through UDS. It is a great honor to be part of such a great school. And so now let's move on to this particular assertion and assumption. Or maybe let me just say, maybe it's even true, but there's this thing that lecturers hardly mark scripts, especially exam scripts. How true or otherwise?
Absolutely wrong. So absolutely unfounded. So I can tell you that outright.
You mark every script that that is brought to you.
You see,
1,500 and more students?
I tell you what. Okay, let's take it this way.
Okay.
If I have 1,500 scripts and they are objective test questions, I probably would get a marking scheme for a teaching assistant to mark the objectives.
Even that one, I'm sure even you can.
Okay.
This one is A,
they
B.
Have
that one is easy. But
now come to level 400 or master students examination essay questions. My dear friend, you are dealing with someone's future. I definitely will sit down and read every sentence. You see, what people don't also know is that we have external examiners. After I have marked the students' scripts, they are sent to sometimes Legon, KNUST, or Cape Coast to an external examiner who also goes through just to ensure that I have not favored one student as against others, or to ensure that I actually marked. And when you are sending the scripts, there is the marking scheme you use. You send that marking scheme, you send your course outline together with the scripts, and that other lecturer will sit down, use your own marking scheme, and go through the scripts.
But you know, you are friends in the in the field. You know each other too well sometimes, or probably the person will believe that, oh, I don't mark my script, so if my colleague doesn't mark, oh, it's nothing, I just brush it off and move on. So isn't that also a valid argument?
I don't know how many lecturers even know the external examiners. Heads of department would know. Exams officers may know. But many lecturers don't even know their external examiners.
Every single script that is brought to you is being marked.
I cannot say we don't have bad nuts in the system. But let's never generalize that lecturers don't mark scripts. I can tell you that perhaps out of 100 lecturers, you might find 5 or so who don't mark scripts. Otherwise, the rest, this is our calling. This is our training. And we have become so used to it that we find ways of marking every script.
In fact, this question is one question that was so dear to Hamid. Hamid said, I should ask you this question. And so Hamid and all other, undergrads and others, you have heard it all. The debate and the conversation would keep going. But, Doc has said his own, and it is left for us to assess and to take or to leave it. But are you against or for making UDS WA campus an autonomous university?
I'm absolutely entirely for making not just WA campus, but Navrongo campus, Tamale campus, even Nyankwala campus autonomous universities. The more universities we have in the northern part of Ghana, the better for all of us. The more, the better, because each of them will find ways of expanding, ways of absorbing more students, ways of employing more lecturers. They will grow. You see, universities are growth poles in every area that they are cited. Look at the phenomenal growth of Bamaho after WA campus was established. Look at the level to which businesses have sprung up. From real estate to catering, name it, all have expanded. So if WA campus becomes an autonomous university and expands, maybe you can imagine.
Open campuses in Jiraba, Nandom, also just so that.
Absolutely. I mean, we can also in turn now have campuses in various parts of. Talk about Tumu.
Those who argue that the WA campus is holding, a lot of the sensitive courses of the university, and so making UDS an autonomy means that WA would have been more of a better university than the other campuses.
I don't think so. You see, the moment they make the campuses autonomous universities, every university, autonomous one, will now be at liberty to begin whatever courses they want. If WA campus has integrated development stages and Navrongo becomes an autonomous university, nothing prevents Navrongo
from also introducing
integrated development studies. Indeed, the fact that we are only campuses of one university has curtailed our growth in a sense, because WA cannot now start a medical school when one campus is in Tamale. You see, one cannot go and run an agric program
When there's one in
Yampala. You see, or go and start a faculty of sciences when there's one in Navrongo. But the moment we become autonomous, we are at liberty to begin whatever courses or programs we want and grow them.
Okay. Now, looking at our students of today, undergrads, as a senior lecturer, what advice would you give to undergraduates?
That's quite a broad question.
Academically,
in the area of academia, well, these days, like I was saying earlier on, the attractions are so many. People just fail to focus on the main reason for getting admitted into a university. You get admitted into a university for two main reasons as far as I'm concerned: to enhance your academic work and also to network. Because you see, in the university you have all manner of people. If you get to socialize with them and get closer to them later on in life, you have a network of influential people. From the university you have potential politicians, business persons, academics, just name it. So if you become closer to such people, they are the leaders of tomorrow, and later on in life you can always get your way through by contacting one or two of such people.
So that you just hook up and then you start your own life in a better way.
Exactly.
We are going for a commercial break. We'll be back shortly. Don't go away. There are many great achievers who have not been recognized but are role models to many youth in our societies.
I used to help my mother to sell bread, cola nuts, cigarettes, and other little things.
What didn't I sell? I sold so many things.
And then we have the contemporary youth who consider hard work to be punishment. This has led to many youth being jobless and many more others going wayward. But then, who is to blame for the youth and cultured behavior today?
My brother, the society is to be blamed. Our families are to be blamed. The pastors are to be blamed. The imams are to be blamed. The community is to be blamed.
However, we can change society together if we heed to pieces of advice and words of wisdom.
شبيني ندع به كزر بهما كزر نوسعصبه.
النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم دي تونتيله وهلس أملقا فإن الناكد بصيرة.
If you don't go through some particular challenges, you won't be able to guide others.
If you can't help anyone with your power, don't hate them. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
We bring you excitement as well on the show.
So they went to yes and no, and only one person voted no. They said, oh, they are going to Institute to find out who put that no vote.
Join me, Abdul-Jalil Naabeli, as I discuss with great achievers who have toiled to make it in their various field of endeavor on My Northern Achiever. Follow us on social media at My Northern Achiever on all handles. Call to sponsor or advertise on the show. Remember,
Make a date every Friday at 8:30 p.m. only on Sagani TV.
thank you so much for staying with My Northern Achiever. Today I am with Dr. Tuurosong, a senior lecturer of University for Development Studies and the proprietor of Tuurosong Center for Academic Excellence. Before we went for the commercial break, there was a question I posed to Doc, and I love posing questions because he used to ask me questions. Now, the question was something that he said in 2012 during our last lecture with him, that if after 2 years of graduating from the university, you still are jobless, then you are a half-baked human being. Doc, discuss.
Well, I said you are a half-baked student because essentially I believe that anyone who completes the university, in fact, I have some very strong views on this. Government has no business employing graduates, university graduates. And I get ashamed more often when I hear Unemployed Graduates Association. Then I ask myself, what did you learn at the university if after so many years you are unemployed and you are proud enough to tell people that you are unemployed? In the first place, it means that your training processes were not effective enough. Because if you are effectively baked at the university, if you are effectively trained, you ought to be able to either get a job before you even graduate, or after graduating, start a business, some employment of your own, and rather engage people. You don't complete and go and sit at home and now wait for cry around for government to come and absorb you into its system. There are deficiencies in any training process where a graduate cannot employ himself or herself.
I think the point is well made, and I am now too clear about what Doc was telling us in 2012. But Tupaso Center for Academic Excellence, the senior high school, for instance, has become the premier private senior high school in the Upper West region. What motivated you to come up with the concept of an academic center for excellence?
Yes, currently we have Tupaso Center of Academic Excellence, which consists of the senior high school, the primary school, and preschool, talking of crèche, nursery, kindergarten. You see, the inspiration was simply something that was born out of my desire to assist younger brothers and sisters. When I was at the university, again, on holidays, you sit at home and students come to you. They want you to help them, help me in English, help me do this. So I started with one student. That one student called her friend to come and join her. And then before you knew it, it was a whole class on its own. And each time you came back, students were knocking on your doors. So eventually we decided that why don't I call some other people on board, because I could only teach English at the time. What about mathematics? What about geography and so on? So I called friends together and we started first vacation classes until another challenge presented itself. Students who came out of the senior high school and failed to make it at the first sitting, at the school sitting of the WASI, did not have opportunities where they could go back to school and rewrite. So again, we came up with the concept of remedial classes for such people to come, attend classes, and go to better their subjects. After a while, again, we noticed another loophole in our educational system. At the time, we did not have private BEC exams. So if you came out of the BEC and you did not get placement into the senior high school, you were in big trouble. Because many of them could not return to their previous schools and get absorbed. And yet there was no organized system for them to attend classes and go to school. So that was when I decided that I will start a mainstream senior high school and absorb students who from the BEC wanted to progress but who did not have opportunities.
There's the introduction of free senior high school, which many think will come as a very big blow to most of the private senior high schools. How has it actually affected the operations of the private senior high schools?
For the first year of the free SHS, we have rather had more students than the previous years.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Wow. I have often told my colleagues that this free SHS may not pose a danger to our institutions. What we need to do is to maintain standards, ensure that we give quality. You see, people prefer quality items compared to free items. What I know about parents is that they normally would be ready to pay whatever the price if they can get quality wherever it can be found. So for me, I don't think we should be afraid of free SHS coming to collapse our schools. Rather, we should try and do the things that we do best and just keep doing them.
So where do you see Tuurosong Senior High School in the next 5 years?
Well, in the next 5 to 10 years, I expect that we should have built this institution into Tuurosong University College of Agriculture and Humanities. That is what is on our drawing boards.
My next question would have been whether you have the mind of, coming up with a tertiary institution.
Yeah,
but what is your general? Let's shift a little to the youth of today, because this is a particular topic that usually I love so much. The youth are getting so much astray. We just go and we do so many things, and the question is, what is your overview of today's youth?
You see, I don't think people should be too hard on the youth of today. I see that the youth of today are more innovative, they are more ambitious, their dreams are much bigger than those of yesterday. And majority of the youth of today still work very hard in order to nurse these ambitions. Of course, there's a significant portion of the youth who are also delinquent and who are also using the opportunities that are presented to us through technologies in order to defraud and to look for shortcuts to amassing wealth. I just think that today's youth need to be a lot more patient and realize that, you see, you have to sow a seed, water it, nurse it, and see it grow before it can bear fruits. More often than not, people want to plant a seed today, it germinates and bears fruits today for them to harvest. And that's why they look for quick fixes, quicker ways of getting money in order to get all the flamboyant things of life that they want to have. But things don't work out that way. Wherever you find shortcuts, you definitely cannot sustain that type of lifestyle.
So wherever
soon you will come crashing down.
Not sustain it sooner than we even expect. So we have to always sow, water, let the plants grow and harvest you and bear you better fruits for harvesting. And so at this point, I would like to ask your advice to both entrepreneurs, young ones and graduates, because you are an academia and you are also an entrepreneur. What advice would you have for people who are graduates and those young entrepreneurs out there?
Well, I would advise many graduates that, you see, today opportunities are expanding. Opportunities are expanding in network marketing, in ICT, and in various fields of endeavor. And these days they say that the sky is not even the limit. You can go beyond the skies. There is simply no limit to your ambitions. And therefore, all you need to do is, first and foremost, go out and seek knowledge. When you seek knowledge, pray and work very hard at attaining your dreams. And I can tell you that you will realize bigger dreams than you ever imagined.
Is our educational curriculum the best? The educational system that we have in Ghana, is it that, would you describe it as the best?
The best in the world?
Is it appropriate for us as a people?
I think that many have observed, and that is my view as well, that our educational curricula needs a lot of review because we haven't made much progress since our colonial masters handed down this educational system to us. There is a lot of review that it needs. More often than not, politicians come with cosmetic changes to the system, and that doesn't help us much because usually the changes are not born out of proper research and planning. Many of the changes that we have experienced in our curricula, in our training institutions, have come as a result of people's attempts to score some political points to make the populace believe that indeed they have done something about education and therefore give them votes. But we need technocrats to sit down, do proper research and come up with proper blueprints that can move our educational system to the next millennium.
How do you relax? You work so hard, and do you relax?
Well, I do relax. I do listen to few of the northern musicians, majority of them incidentally from the Upper West region. Including Nuela Wiala, for instance. I really like her music so much. Yes.
All right. So we would like to get your final words, but before then, do you think the North is poor?
It depends on what indices you are using to measure poverty, because there's a debate as to what actually is poverty. For instance, if someone has 100 cattle and yet hasn't sent the children to school because the person says, I cannot pay school fees, will you describe such a person as a poor person? Of course, if you use the Ghana Living Standard surveys that they do, you will describe the North as poor. But I believe that we are not poor in as much as we have some appreciable resources that we can harness and turn into productive use in order to better our lot. So in that respect, I will not describe us as poor at all. If you have such a fantastic environment with birds chirping all around you and with so much greenery, I don't see why you should describe yourself as a poor person. This is what most advanced countries even need. They will pay a lot to get this kind of environment. So we are not poor at all.
So Northerners, let's buckle up. Let's be up and doing. We are not poor. We are just making ourselves poor. Now, Doc, let's take your final words.
Well, my final words are that I think that we have great opportunities for advancement. We have great opportunities for growth, and that every young man, every young woman should not lean on others in order, or try to stand on other people's shoulders in order to climb the tree of life. I believe that we have the wherewithal, we have the energy in order to climb the tree of life and pluck the life-giving fruits which we can eat in order to grow.
Anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Let me send out my best regards to members of my department. I'm the head of the Department of African and General Studies. All the lecturers, all the students of that department, no matter where they are found, I give shout outs to them. And my best sister, Albertina Tuurosong, who was one of those who nursed me into what I am today. I send out all my respects and my greetings to her. To Audrey Gajepo, the one and only professor in Ghana, who cut my academic teeth. To Emmanuel Milayuri, who cut my teeth in the area of advertising career. I say best wishes. God bless them all.
Viewers, this is where time would permit us today. It has been a wonderful day, and I am particularly happy because I've been able to grind my lecturer and ask him questions that are useful to society, and I'm hoping and I believe that you and I have learned something significant from Dr. Damasus Tuurosong alias Tupaso. Thank you so very much, my crew, for always being solid behind me. Thank you so very much, Pastor Mustafa of Global Mission and Resource Center. Thank you so very much, viewers, for being a part of the show. Because of you, we are who we are, and we entreat that you keep watching My Northern Achiever. My name is Abdul-Jalil Naabeli, and we were at the campus of Tupaso Center for Academic Excellence. Thank you so very much, and Muna Maikoti.